Welcome to the Keenan Lake Show on SIBN Radio. Keenan Lake is the author of the book My Daddy Taught Me That, published by Welcome, a social worker and activist. You can like this show's fan page at www.facebook.com/The Keenan Lake Show on SIBN Radio. Feel free to post any comments, questions, or requests for his book on the fan page. Now let's go into the studio with your host, Mr. Keenan Lake, and co-host, Marcus Select.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Mr. Keenan Lake, what's going on with you, man?
Hey, Coach, how you doing today?
Hey, we doing good, man. What's happening with you?
Coach, everything is lovely on this end. The weather, again, is nice. We had a beautiful Sunday, getting ready for this fall season to kick in, but it was a nice warm day today, so can't complain, Coach. But listen, I want to jump right into the show today because I got a lot I want to get out, a lot I want to talk about. And today's topic, we were talking about shackles enslaving our minds, okay? And Coach, once again, I had a good long week to think about the show and had some things happen. So, first of all, I want to talk about, shackles and enslavement. And, when you think about that, you think about someone being locked down, and you think about, enslavement being maybe either chained up or caged in, or, even if you go back to the root word slavery or slave, you think of someone, being mistreated and stuff of that nature, right? But Coach, I want to first talk about, let's just talk about this in this fashion. Like everyone, and if you're old enough and Willie Lynch, okay? In fact, Willie Lynch put out a letter a long time ago back during slavery, and it was called the Willie Lynch letter. So at that point in time, Willie Lynch pretty much wrote a code that was supposed to be able to enslave the African Americans for years to come. And what I don't mean years to come, I mean like even back then. He said if they followed this rule that he wrote in this letter, that it would work for years and years, 400, 500 years even after slavery ended. Okay, and so now what I've seen, Coach, and primarily with my work and what I do, and and even so much more so since I've been working with you and SIBN Radio with the radio show, I've been doing a lot of research, and what I've been able to see, Coach, is that this is not a black or white thing. This is not an African American thing. This is a human thing. And what I've been able to see, Coach, is that our minds are being enslaved and our minds are being locked up. And we're getting to a point, Coach, where we're not thinking for ourselves. Like for example, I've said we had a show prior to in the past previously talking about the system. Okay. And now, real quick, when you talk about the system, people, well, what is the system? What exactly are you talking about? Well, to me, when I talk about the system, I talk about the government, I talk about media, I talk about music, I talk about all things that can control the way you think, the way your outcome is, the way you view things, the way that things are presented to you. So when I talk about the system, that's what I'm talking about. All of the entire setup, the government, the music, the media, that entire thing. And Coach, when I talk about enslavement, like for example, this is what I was doing some research, and I was thinking about, that word, all our youth now are using the word swag, right? You got to have good swag, or your swag got to be tight, this and the third. But then I started thinking about swag, and and it's like really, and the reason I even started thinking about this is because I did a presentation for a group of high school kids about a week and a half ago, and I remember telling them that I'm not trying to get them not to be who they are or change, the person that they are, or change, not to be able to have an outlet or be able to express themselves. But then when I started thinking about that a little bit more, Coach, it's like these kids only follow what they see and what they're taught.
Right.
So when it comes to swag, like for example, the kids, swag comes from the latest fashion, okay? The latest fashion is out. What they see, whoever influences them, be it some rap music sensation or star, some athlete. That's how the kids get that. But what's crazy about that, Coach, is this. The media knows this. Mm-hmm. The multi-mega media, the multi-mega industries who the Pradas, the Fendis, the Gucci, the this, the that. They know this. They know that I can influence a person. And this is just not kids. This is because our kids we know learn from us adults, Coach. So if I'm a person and I'm in the fashion industry, I know that if I can get a celebrity to wear my clothing or wear my brand, then it's going to generate more revenue because they're going to see other people are going to see that and going to say, I like this. We know that. But what's happening, Coach, is this. What's happening is this, and I'm going to let you chime in here in just a second, Coach. But what's happening as a people in our generation, or as a culture, the African American culture, and this is actually taking over to become a thing now that's not only in the black community, but now, Coach, if you don't have certain things, you don't have the Fendi, the Pradas, the Jordans, the et cetera. If you're a woman and you don't have a Fendi purse or a Prada bag or a Coach bag, then it's basically then you're nothing or you're less than.
Mm-hmm.
And so instead of a woman looking at a man and saying it's not about what's on his feet, it's what's in his head.
Mm-hmm.
It's not about the Jordans he has on his feet, but what's on this man's mind. It gives us a false confidence, Coach, and it's like, okay, and I see this all over, Coach. Our kids now, if they're not wearing Jordans, they don't have the latest designer jeans, they don't have this, then they're not as confident. They're not able. Now, don't get me wrong. Everybody wants to look nice. Everybody wants to be present themselves in a great fashion or a great way. When you're out in public, you want people to look at you and say, this man, this woman is very put together. She looks good, he looks good. But when it starts becoming this issue now, where you see these kids where, they don't have certain things. They can't even go to school. Like, I'm not even going to school unless I have. And it's like, really, like that's an option.
Mm-hmm.
Like when I was coming up, you still wanted to have a nice thing, but I don't care if you go to school with some flip flops on and a t-shirt. You're going to school.
Right.
Now it's a totally different thing, Coach. And what's happening is because of the way our minds are being caged in, we have this false confidence, Coach. And basically, we're being programmed to do and to act and not to think.
Right. Exactly.
I'll let you chime in on that a little bit, Coach.
Well, I'm just supporting your thought process because you're right on the money. The Willie Lynch letters from a British slave owner in 1712 gave explicit instructions on how to build and keep or make a slave. And I'm just going to, throughout the show today, we'll interject parts of the letter. He says, I have a foolproof method for controlling young black slaves. I guarantee every one of you, if it's installed correctly, it will correct the slaves for at least 300 years. My method is simple. Any member of your family or your overseer can use it. Notice that word. Any member can use it. Media, any member can use it. I have outlined a number of differences among the slaves, and I take these differences and make them bigger. I use fear, distrust, and the last one pertaining to our topic today, envy for control purposes. These methods have worked on my most modest plantations in the West Indies, and it will work throughout the South. Skipping ahead, there is intelligence, size, sex, sizes of plantation, status on plantations, attitude of owners, and so forth and so on. But he later says that distrust is stronger than trust, and envy is stronger than adulation, respect, and admiration. The black slaves, after receiving this indoctrination, shall carry on and become self-refueling and self-generating for hundreds of years, maybe thousands. Now, I want to skip ahead real quick, and I want to, because our shows have been talking a lot about the mothers of our children in America. I want to slip ahead. It says here about control. It gets more into detail. For the fear of our future generations may not understand the principles of breaking both of the beasts together, and he used the N-word and the horse. Now I'm going to skip ahead again. Both horses and blanks are no good to the economy in a wild or natural state. Both must be broken and tied together for orderly production. For orderly future and special and particular attention must be paid to the female and the youngest offspring. Both must be crossbred to produce a variety and a division of labor. Both must be taught to respond to a particular new language. Psychological and physical instruction of containment must be created for both. We hold the 6 cardinal principles as truth to be self-evident based upon these following discourse concerning the economics of breaking and so forth and so on and so on. But he says that you must start with the female and her offspring. Get this, Keenan. He says you must keep your eye and thoughts on the female and the offspring. Concentrate on future generations. And I'll stop there because it's really, really very interesting as you go. And he compares the Negro to the horse. But in this case, I think what you have said earlier is when we say it's no color, what we also know about the haves and the have-nots is that the have-nots are considered the slaves of the haves, no matter what color you are, and no matter what sex you are. And so, Keenan, once again, you are right on the money. The Willie Lynch letters cross race lines and cause those that truly have not to succumb to the mastermind of those that have.
Exactly. And Coach, I'm glad you read that letter, and that just further puts emphasis on what we talk about. So that was wonderful, Coach. And it also, gives us an idea about what the focus is. I mean, in anything that you do, when you're, I think they say something about, it's a couple of examples of the art of war and all that kind of stuff. But a lot of times, if you cut off the head of a snake, the body dies. Mm-hmm. So, if you cut off the head, which is supposedly the man, and this is in any race, if you get rid of the male, which is, if we go to Christ once again, Christ, and I take this in a biblical term, this is in no way, shape, or form for men to, again, I've said this in previous shows, to run around and, tell women that they're supposed to listen to you, and primarily if you're not in line and in tune in Christ. Mm-hmm. But in Christ, in the way Christ wants it to be, that the male is the head. But if you take away the male, then, you have no one else to protect the family, to lead the family. So that is a perfect example of that, Coach. But, Coach, this is what we see, and this is what I try to teach all my young folks. If we are not allowed to think for ourselves, or we're unable to think for ourselves, then who holds other folks accountable for things? How can the questions be answered or even subjected okay, is this fair? Mm-hmm. Is this not fair? But Coach, one thing that I've been seeing a lot of as of late is this: if you and I are talking and you say, Keenan, wait a minute, you're wrong. Mm-hmm. What that statement you made is wrong, or those facts you gave are incorrect, or blah blah blah. I will say, okay, Coach, I would listen and say, okay, tell me how I'm wrong. Let me hear about it. Mm-hmm. I would love to know about how I'm wrong. Mm-hmm. But if I don't even know I'm wrong, and I don't see anything wrong with what I'm doing or what the subject is, it's like, how can you tell somebody who doesn't even know what they're doing is wrong or what they've been taught is wrong? Right. And that's what you see. And it's like, what I'm seeing with these young folks is like this. With the whole phenomenon of the fashion thing. Once again, nothing is new under the sun. But it's like, these kids, I said this in a previous show as well. Kids were, and I'll give a quick review. A couple of my young men in my program were teasing another kid about the shoes that he was wearing. He didn't have on the latest shoes. I pulled one of the kids aside and tell him, look, this is not how it should be done. This kid is not as fortunate and as blessed as you. Mm-hmm. So when, don't tease him, don't pick with him. The kid then responds and says, it's not my fault that his family is poor. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So Coach, this is what when he says that, I'm thinking was he serious? So knowing this kid's history, okay, this kid's history is his family lives in the projects, public housing. Mm-hmm. His family receives food stamps. Mm-hmm. The government, gives out, Medicaid and medical coverage. So the bottom line is not only is the kid who was less fortunate poor, but the reality is the kid who was teasing him is poor as well. Mm-hmm. But because he has certain things, because he has certain things, Coach, like shoes, PlayStation, a cell phone. Our children and our youth are really growing up thinking that they are not poor. Mm-hmm. But that comes from the parents. That also comes from the parents having the same mindset.
Well, like you said, the media propaganda that shows us these commercials, not only just on television now, but also through the gaming systems that we purchase for our kids and also the cell phones that we have for our kids. These mediums propagate the messages conducive for consuming, not for investing. So let's go deeper. Before we go to commercial break, let's put this thought out there, that the consumer's mindset in today's vernacular excludes appreciation, excludes proper mannerism, excludes modesty, excludes balance. The consumer mindset today is can all I can get and can all I get all I can and show everybody how good I look and hopefully how good I feel. But an investor is the total opposite of that. He or she holds on to her resources, dispersing them very randomly, but very skittishly, very skittishly, kind of like a tightwad, because you never know, as the old folks used to say, when a rainy day is going to come. So, Keenan, this is not just on the parents, but our business sense of exchange. Our profit margins are, as you said in so many of your shows, are built on the patterns of the consumers. The entire economy actually is hinged on poor people spending their money, not the people, rich people investing their money, but the whole entire U.S. economy particularly is hinged on how much money the poor will spend. And so until, as you've said so many times, we educate, as Shakina Moore always says, we got to educate folks into a new paradigm shift regarding how to think for themselves. And as you said, to let them know, listen, you can't keep calling black white. You can't keep calling wrong right. You've got to recognize that you're not thinking for yourself. And the proof of the pudding is now your child can't go without. And Keenan, our daddies did not teach us that. One thing our daddies taught us, whatever you have, okay, you better appreciate it, because it's going to be a minute before you get some more.
And when we come back from commercial, Coach, I'm going to elaborate a little bit more about what you were just saying.
All right, Keita, you just started a real nice fire. Now you got all kind of wood in there now. Stand by, you guys are listening to the Keenan Lake Show. SIBN Radio. Be right back.
Responsible, accountable. Who taught you that? My daddy taught me that. That's right, the new book all the way from Asheville, North Carolina, representing the legacy of Benny Lake is Keenan Lake, the author of My Daddy Taught Me That, the book and the program for young men in Asheville, North Carolina and throughout the region. Tune in to the program, the project, and the book at mydaddytaughtmethat.com. For more information, email lake@mydaddytaughtmethat.com or call 828-582-2261. That's 828-582-2261. mydaddytaughtmethat.com.
Ustedes están escuchando SIBN, transmitido por Salet USA TV. Síguenos en Twitter @SaletUSA TV o visítenos en www.41596radio.com.
I need you to realize and accept that there is only one philosophy that I have embraced under the Coach's Corner's umbrella, and that is that we are the common denominator in every situation. So I can't blame them, they, her, and him. I am stepping up to the plate, and I realize it's all me. Not that it's all about me, but it's all about the legacy for those that come behind me to achieve a height of success that I can't even imagine. This is called the transgenerational shift of mindsets, that we may propel ourselves into the generations that is to come and tell them, I won't leave you a mess that you have to clean up, but I'll leave you a principle-centered life that you can celebrate and catapult into more success. Join me on the Coach's Corner at www.415-96radio.com. That's www.415-96radio.com. And follow me on Twitter. That's the only way you can keep up with the coach. That's right, DCC is in the house on SIBN Radio. Tune in.
Thank you so much for joining us right here. We're back with the Keenan Lake Show. You're listening to the Keenan Lake Show on SIBN Radio, and thank you for joining us on today, talking about the shackles that enslave our minds. And Keenan, you were saying.
And Coach, I'm glad before the break, you brought up a good point, Coach. You know, you talked about our daddies, letting us know and making us know that, how hard they work for something and the value. And that's the main thing, Coach. Mm-hmm. And that's a lot of things that you don't see. It's not that parents are not working as hard as they were back then. In fact, they probably work harder today. Mm-hmm. But this is the thing, Coach. I have a couple of mothers who of course deal with the young men in my program, who are the mothers of the young men in my program. And these women work really hard. Like, in fact, I know a mom who works overtime just to make sure her son has stuff. Mm-hmm. She makes sure her son has this, she has that. But the difference is this. This is the difference, Coach. When we were coming up, like you said, my dad, my mom, or my dad, son, you need to go in there and thank your mother, because she done spent all her money on this. She worked really hard to get this. She sacrificed for you to have this.
Yes,
so
sir.
You need to go in there and make sure you let her know how appreciative you are of it.
Mm-hmm.
Vice versa. My mom, your dad went out there and worked, so we were taught the value of, and how our parents had to sacrifice. It wasn't like this wasn't easy,
Mm-hmm.
But now what happens is these kids are not taught that. The moms and even the dads and the kids, they don't tell the kids like, we were out here working extremely hard. They just get it for them. Mm-hmm. And these kids are developing an attitude whereas, first of all, they know no value. They have no work ethic, and they don't have any type of sense of the value of a dollar. Like,
Mm-hmm.
like this is the thing, Coach. One of my kids came to me the other day, and they said, it's a new game now. Of course, back in the day, everybody rolled dice. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
everybody played craps, and then when I was coming through, CeeLo came along, 3 dice. Well, now they have a thing called 1 dice.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so the kids just get 1 dice, and whoever gets the highest number or something like that wins. So a couple of these kids, now these are kids in the 10th grade, 11th grade, 10th, 11th grade. One of the kids said, I won $50, $60 the other day in school. I said, $50, $60? What was he doing? He said, we was playing 1 dice. He said, we was playing 1 dice. And he said, basically, we were playing for $20 a hand, and I won 3 straight hands. I walked away with $60.
Oh, Jesus.
So I'm thinking to myself, $20 a hand in high school, 11th grade, like, who does? Like, Coach, to me, that's big money. You pay that for $20, because if you lose, that's $20. And see, I work, Coach. I work now, and I can't even see myself going to a dice game and putting $20. Like, I'll put 5, but okay, so I'm putting down $5. I'm not $20 a hand, so. But to this 11th grader, it was nothing for him to say, yeah, we put down $20, and so I'm thinking wow,
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so. The thing about that, Coach, is the value. They don't understand the value.
Well,
now, go ahead, Coach.
But what you got to understand, and we want to give our parents some support, and we want to let them know we understand, and the purpose of your show is to bring the ball back into their court so they can take control. But we got to understand that, every parent out here that's parenting, whether for good or for bad or half doing it, whatever, they don't have the support for what you're saying. There's no support to reinforce values. There's no support to be more an investor than a consumer. And so the reason why you're having this show today and the other shows and the shows to come is so that we can put the control mechanisms for growth and development back into the hands of the parents.
Right.
You see what I'm saying?
But see, even with that, Coach, and you're absolutely right. Even with that, though, it comes, and you're right. Like a lot of times when you create a system, and that's what I'm trying to let the folks know, that there is a system out there that's created primarily, ultimately, and it's not so much for our demise. A lot of people might say it is.
It's for their profit, though.
It's for their profit, and that's which can also be our demise.
Well, if you die in the midst of them making $1 off of you, that the goal was reached.
Exactly. So it's not necessarily to kill you, but it's definitely to make money off of you.
Right.
And with that being said, it doesn't matter how, like Coach just said, it doesn't matter how they make the money. Mm-hmm. If you're institutionalized or incarcerated, so be it. Mm-hmm. If they got to trick you, if they got to pull a wool over your eyes, so to speak, it doesn't matter how they get it done, as long as at the end of the day they're making a profit.
Right.
So, Coach, I want to go back a little bit about the system a little bit and about the false confidence that these things allow. So everyone knows that you actually just said it perfectly. The poor pretty much. The country's, the back of the poor is what keeps things going, and the poor are what spends the majority of the money in this country. Like you said, the rich folks don't spend anything. Mm-hmm. If you look at it, they hold on to what they have. Mm-hmm. A lot of things may even be given to them free, primarily if you're in a certain area, and as far as like maybe acting or athlete, you're going to get things free, so you can get the people to buy that. So. With that being said, though, Coach, what happens when this whole so-called shackles and this blinding and our minds being slaved and institutionalized and stuff like that? What happens is this, though: we're so caught up in the things that don't mean anything that we miss the things that really matter. Like we and that's what I mean by no questions are asked. Like, for example, Coach. I'm gonna read this. I actually posted this on my Facebook, but I'm gonna read this real quick. Mm-hmm. It says, the representatives approved a bill to keep 5.1 million people from receiving food stamps. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It may not become a law, but it certainly reflects the ongoing assault on vulnerable Americans of every race, color, and creed. Mm-hmm. Here's one thing for sure. Effective November the 1st, 2013, everyone receiving food stamps will have their benefits cut. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. For a family of 5, it means $43 less per month. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Other cuts are $36 a month for a family of 4, $29 a month for a family of 3, $20 a month for a family of 2, and $11 a month for individuals. Mm-hmm. So these are the type of things. Now, even with that, we can go even further, Coach, because honestly, I think that, don't get me wrong, I think that there are plenty of people out here who need help and should definitely get help. Mm-hmm. But I think that this system right here, which is part of the system, has created a problem as well.
Well, that's what the Republicans, and not to make it a political show, but that's what the Republicans have advocated all along. You see, what people don't understand is that the Republican Party have shifted their principles to a more selfish, self-centered ideology, which really says, we don't really believe in helping anyone. We don't subscribe to helping you with anything. Medical, food, subsidies. Now, hypocritically speaking, the Republican Party, which is a good party in its origin, and the intentions of living by principle is good. But we have a right wing, we have an extreme of both parties. Both the Democratic Party has an extreme and the Republican Party extreme. So right now we're just talking about the Republican Party extreme. But here's the other point. In this new slave shackle mentality or mindset, this is not to reiterate your point about color as much as though it's about those who have not, who are consumers. Now, by all means, minorities have always been at the bottom of the barrel when it comes to the numbers.
Right.
And so
Exactly.
therefore they're going to be the greater, they're going to bear the greater burden of this situation. But I think what you're trying to get across to the listener is, listen, I don't want you to go out there and start reading a bunch of statistics about minorities and get it twisted. This is not even about race. There is a discrimination that transcends race for profitability purposes.
Yep.
I mean, look at, real quick, Keenan, remember that actor, can't think of his name, who stood up at the Emmys, I believe it was, or some award show, the famous actor, I can't think of his name, whose son got additional time for he was already in prison, but he got additional federal time for having drugs or not passing his drug test in prison. And his father was told he can't even visit his son for 2 years. Now, we've been calling, African Americans have been calling attention, for instance, to this issue for years. But now all of a sudden that it's hitting white folks, now there is a cry or there is a noticeable messaging that needs to go out to change laws regarding sentencing. Well, we've been knowing, the minority has been knowing. So that's a perfect example of a mastermind plan that has transcended the minorities and now hits anybody in its path.
Right. And like Coach, I mean, you know, you said it correctly, and it's like this too, Coach. What I want the audience to take from this today is this. No, it's not about black and white. You know, it's not about the color thing. But like Coach said earlier, it's more so about the haves and the have-nots. But it's about being able to use the mind that God has given us
for
to
yourself,
think
right?
For yourself, and not be tricked or duped into believing what you see on TV or what they're telling us. Coach.
Keenan, give me an example before we go to commercial break. We're gonna just chill. But listen, give me an example of how your father would have reacted if you would have came home and said, well, Johnny said, or Johnny's got this. Please, before we go to the commercial, I just want to hear what...
First of all, my dad would say, I don't care what Johnny has. You're not Johnny, and what applies to Johnny doesn't apply to you. That's what exactly. And then he would have said, and secondly, I'm not Johnny's father, and Johnny's father not raising you. So
right.
This is how we do things over here. Now,
right.
He wouldn't have yelled at me. He would have been bad, but he would have let me know, like, you know, nah, this ain't how it's done over here. This, we don't do it that way.
But Keenan, if you would have came back again and said, well, Mary's mama. I gotta go to a commercial, kid.
All right, Coach.
Hey, y'all listen to the SIBN Network, man. Keenan Lake Show, man. We'll be right back. Talking about the shackles on our minds. A little bit of Kenton Jones. Check.
I know that you's a pimp and wanna pimp more, but in your pimping you can't never pimp God. I know that you's a pimp and wanna pimp hard, but in your pimping you can't never pimp God. Way back, player from the Himalayas, Asian, Spanish, white, black. Hey baby, come over here. You flip through your black book and you like me.
I'm Nomvula, aka Sunshine, and we here in South Africa are tuned into SIBN Radio at www.415-96radio.com. If you would like to know more about the SIBN television and radio network, complete a contact form at the website www.415-96radio.com. Salette USA TV, reaching the world.
Now is the time. To have your radio show on SIBN Radio. You're ready to share your message with the world. Then call 404-910-5019. That's right, call 404-910-5019. Producing your radio show on SIBN Radio. For more information, dial 404-910-5019. That's right. 404-910-5019. Now is the time.
Yeah, we're back here. SIBN Radio with the Keenan Lake Show. Talking about the Shackles on Our Minds. Got Keenan Lake, the host of the Keenan Lake Show. And I'm telling you, Keenan, we have finally realized and understand. Now, race had been a spoke in the wheel. You know, race is a spoke in the wheel. But the wheel that turns for profitability margins is that of controlling the mass mindset.
Yeah.
See, Keenan, you wrong for this. You wrong for this. It was supposed to be a quiet show so we can talk about little boys, little girls not going to school, doing their homework, little mamas coming home not tired, spending time with their kids. Now you didn't went and you didn't tackle a big issue and stirred up the embers.
Well, Coach, this is the thing, Coach. In order to be productive in anything we do, and anything that I do, I try to help not only my youth, but my parents as well, and my care providers, to do better and to be better. And that's, and this is the thing. I don't think that, without being able to understand what's out there and what's happening, I don't think that we can, and it's like this, once again, the system that I was talking about, Coach, it had the thing that I think this system is trying to do is trying to program each and every one of us to do and to act without thinking. And and it's almost like this. Let me put it to the and use an example of just what we've been taught for social workers. So as a social worker, dealing with neglected and abused kids, we face all types of parent situations. Mm-hmm. Majority of the times, anytime you go into a person's home, talking about how they're not treating their children, right or wrong, it's going to be a defensive. You're going to have a defensive mechanism going to kick in. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And right or wrong, they're going to, you're not going to come in my house questioning me about how I'm raising my kids. That's just a initial mindset. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. A lot of times, if I come to your house, Coach, right now, and I'm telling you about how you're raising your kids and throwing all these accusations at you, you're going to start yelling. You're going to get upset. You're going to start yelling. You're going to be. But if I, in return, start yelling at you, then it's going to be a problem, and then it's going to So what we're taught as social workers is to diffuse the situation by being calm. Being poised. Stuff like that. While you're yelling, if I'm calm, then eventually you're going to bring it down. Like, let me bring it back down. Keenan's kind of calm. I don't need to be raising my voice.
Right.
So therefore, I'm not just reacting to your anger. I'm not just doing what comes naturally. You yell at me, I'm gonna yell back at you. Mm-hmm. So I have that time to think and say, okay, you know what, Coach is yelling, Coach is mad. Mm-hmm. Let me think about it and diffuse the situation. Mm-hmm. If you don't have that ability in the mind to think for yourselves, you're gonna find yourself in a situation in a lot of hurt and exposed to a lot of problems, and then primarily doing exactly what they want you to do, what the system is set up for us to do.
Well, the pattern, and I'm glad you shifted that, because it seems like now we're going to talk a little bit about the repercussions of not thinking for yourself. And as you said, to reiterate, there won't be any critical skills there for thought processes that would allow one to escape a trap. And what's really, really sad is that even among the best of us, talking about our children now, particularly, critical thinking skills still is not a value or a principle that's being taught outside of the home, let alone inside of the home. I mean, we can't get people to, my son, and not to put him on the spot, but I mean, he's great in math, and I mean, he does some of the math that I can't even figure out. Very advanced. But there's one section of math that he still hates, and that's problem solving. And the reason why we as a community, as Americans, as citizens, hate problem solving, because it requires us to do something that we are not often willing to do on a different level, and that is to critically think about the intricate parts of the problem. You see what I'm saying? And so...
Exactly. So let me piggyback on that, Coach. You're exactly right. And so with that being said, I mentioned this earlier, the false confidence, right?
Yeah.
So what that does is this, Coach, and this I'm glad you used your son for example, but in the problem solving for an example. So because you have a kid, okay, let's just say you have a kid who goes to school, okay? This kid, he has all the best clothes, he has the best this, he has the best that. Well, already his confidence is false because there's nothing that is built in him for his confidence. It's something that he gets just by the materialistic view of it. You know, okay,
right.
Well, he has a nice clothes, so he gets maybe attention from some girls, or, you know, his peers like his clothes. But he's not done anything. He's not done anything in his life as far as, or her, I'm using him or her,
Mm-hmm.
they have not done anything in their life to look upon and say, you know what, I'm an honor student. You know,
Right.
I've done this, I've done that. It's that false confidence.
Mm-hmm.
But in men, the reason that I said him is in men, it allows this false confidence allows men, primarily African American young men, to be overly aggressive.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And that's where, and the reason I even said that is because the problem solving. Because now you're overly aggressive, and once again, you're not thinking,
Mm-hmm.
you're reacting or doing.
Mm-hmm. You're exactly right. That's very, very, you know what? That's very, only a social worker would be able to point that out. You guys that are listening, Keenan Lake is not only an author of My Daddy Taught Me That, but he is also a social worker in the Asheville, North Carolina region and beyond, because I'm sure he has people that comes in from other regions that move to Asheville that have issues and challenges that extended from the region from which they came. But only a social worker would have thought of that, Keenan. That is very, very good analogy right there, and that could be a cover-up for a lot of males, particularly African-American males, but males in general, without even knowing that they're trying to cover up for the weakness of not being able to think critically. That's a very good point.
Yeah. And we also know, Coach, that, you know, African-Americans in general, we're high-energy learners, okay?
Mm-hmm.
That's, you know, we're high-energy learners. We like to have a lot of examples, a lot of demonstrations, stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And with that being said, because we're high, you know, that automatically is going to allow us to be, you know, more aggressive.
Mm-hmm.
But when you add that other component that I just mentioned earlier, then it starts becoming a problem.
Right.
Because then, once again, anytime you do anything in this world, in my opinion, when you can't think about it, or you can't use your mind to even ask a question, like for example, you know, let me give you an example. Something happens, something happens. For example, the incident that took place in Charlotte a couple of weeks ago. A young man got murdered in Charlotte. Police officers discharged and killed a young man. Well, it was totally the officer's fault. They agreed with that and stuff like that. But, you know, even beforehand, you know, you have to ask a question of, like, you know, it's not about a race card. Again, it's not about that. But I look even deeper, Coach, and I look at, like, well, okay, you know what? Yeah, this particular officer made a mistake.
Mm-hmm.
But why? You know, why? Okay, why do you see an African man running towards you? You know, do you instantly, okay, you got a police report.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, you got a police report thinking that somebody was trying to rob a house.
Mm-hmm.
So, primarily, you might have thought he was a criminal.
Mm-hmm.
You might have thought he was, but this is an unarmed man running towards you. So, the way I think is, okay, well, it's an unarmed man running towards you, so even if you thought he was a criminal, he's unarmed.
Mm-hmm.
But I look at it deeper, or I try to look at it deeper, like, well, why is that, though? Is it because of the persona or the demeanor that the young African American male has now that's attached to him?
Mm-hmm.
And don't get me wrong, I think African American males have always had, you know, a stigma or a stereotype.
Mm-hmm.
But I think now, so more than ever, Coach, and you can weigh on this as well. I think now, so more than ever, with the rap phenomenon that's been taking place over the last, 20 years now, or with what's been going on, you know, the way that the African American male, primarily the young African American male, is portrayed as thugs, gangsters.
Mm-hmm.
You get in my face, this is what you're gonna get. You know, that whole mentality, and I think that's being put on the young African American males, and right or wrong, that's the way we're judged now.
Mm-hmm. That's right. I mean, but back to your point about not thinking for ourselves. I think that I love the way you painted. This was a picture on a canvas painted with intention today. And this picture articulates more than race issues and more than even economic or political issues, but it points to how those that are most powerful, that sit in very, very high places, have painted such broad strokes with such specific goal-oriented results to be reached, that even this officer, who I'm sure was a great officer, who I'm sure probably didn't have a race bone in his body, but he, even himself, the officer, did not think. And so we're all seeming to be victims of a climate of communities and regions, be it your county and my county and your state or my state, or your country or my country. We're victims of a colossal non-thinking citizenry. I mean, the officer, as best as he probably could have looked at his record and said, this guy is a great officer, he didn't think. And that is because someone or some people or group or powerful pact has worked to paint a picture to ensure that African American males, since we on the topic, not to pick on them, but they are already included on the topic, are looked at in a certain light. It's just like the rest of the masses. Hispanics are looked at in a certain light, Latinos, and on and on and on. So I think this example in North Carolina, it helps shine the light on what you're saying today by showing that even the officer didn't think for himself. He reacted rather than responded.
Right. You're absolutely right, Coach. And let me say this last thing, Coach, as far as, while we're on the subject and topic, too. I was watching a YouTube video. This was probably about a month ago. Mm-hmm. And it was from a former Navy SEAL agent type guy. He had been in the Marines. He had done all this kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. But and actually he was a Navy SEAL. But he said, if you give me your son, and he was talking about, he said, if you give me your son for 3 years, mm-hmm. He said, I will have that. He said, and I train your son and I deal with him for 3 years with no interruptions. He said, when he returns, he will kill his mother. Mm. Mm. So in other words, he will brainwash this kid. He could, and actually it was, he said he made it clear. He said, give me your 18-year-old son. So he made it clear that the child or the person needed to be, have, some years on him. But the reason I guess he chose the number 18 was because basically what he was saying was this child can live with his mother for 18 years, mm-hmm. and you allow me to have him for 3, mm-hmm. and when he returns, he will kill it. So this is what I mean by, and the reason I even mentioned this on the show was this: brainwashing. It's all the same thing, and that's what happens when you get to the system. You see stuff on television, mm-hmm. you hear stuff on the radio, and a lot of times if they pump it over and over and over again. Pretty mm-hmm. soon, you start to believe it. You start to say, well, that's true. Right. So somebody could tell you a lie 100 times. You start to say, well, you know what? Mm-hmm. That's the truth. So with that being said, you have to be able to get off your couch. Mm-hmm. Turn off the internet sometimes, or if you're on the internet, doing research, looking up this stuff for yourself, and saying, you know what, I'm not going to take somebody's word for it, or I'm not going to take the word of my favorite talk show host, mm-hmm. Just because such and such said it, it's true. Mm-hmm. You got to be able to think for yourself, folks. You got to be able to say, okay, you know what? Is there a system out here in place? Yes, there is a system. Mm-hmm. Is the system set up to hurt and kill us? I'm not blaming anybody. I'm not saying that tomorrow this is going to happen or something horrible is going to happen. But what I am saying is this: there are places and things put in place to keep you from thinking for yourself, to keep you from expanding your mind, expanding your knowledge, expanding your self-worth, expanding your God-given ability, and they're pretty much thinking for you. You're not supposed to think for yourself. Yeah, we'll make sure you're okay, but just trust me, you take what we give you, and therefore creating a system that will hinder you from reaching your full potential, the potential of what Christ has in store for you.
I mean, very well said, and it points to a point, an item. And as we head toward a close, we got a few minutes. Go to a break here, but as we head toward a close, it points to why the spiritual part of our lives and development must be key, central. Because when the spiritual part of our lives is not in play, we tend to strictly be carnal. We only pay attention to what we can taste, feel, smell, hear, and touch. And we know from spiritual principle that the things that we see are going to pass away. We know from spiritual principle that the things we taste, the taste can change. We can lose our ability to taste, our ability to see. And in essence, today's show is showing how we are losing that ability because we are so focused on the physical realm that the spiritual realm it cannot be a course correction. So we hope that today, this show and other shows can help be a course correction. The worst type of deception is self-deception. The worst kind of deception is when you think you're right and you are absolutely dead wrong. And you won't know until it's too late. Let's go to a commercial break. Ken, I think we're going to come back and let you have a few words. Also talk about the book, My Daddy Taught Me That. Keenan also is working on a subsequent book. Maybe he can share a line or two about that and about the new products that are on the website, www.mydaddytaughtmethat.com. You're listening to the Keenan Lake Show on SIBN Radio. We'll be back after this.
Responsible, accountable. Who taught you that? My daddy taught me that. That's right, the new book all the way from Asheville, North Carolina, representing the legacy of Benny Lake is Keenan Lake, the author of My Daddy Taught Me That, the book and the program for young men in Asheville, North Carolina, and throughout the region. Tune in to the program, the project, and the book at mydaddytaughtmethat.com. For more information, email lake@mydaddytaughtmethat.com or call 828-582-2261. That's 828-582-2261. mydaddytaughtmethat.com. The number one show on SIBN television and radio. Coach's Corner's Daily Show, now airing at www.415-96radio.com for hardcore motivation and daily inspiration. Tune in. That's www.415-96radio. That's www.415-96radio.com.
SIBN Television and Radio Networks has openings for internships. Learn internet radio, web TV production, audio production, broadcasting platform integration, and so much more. Visit www.sibntelevision.com. That's www.sibntelevision.com. Click on the icon for internships. Complete your application, and a staff member of SIBN Television and Radio Networks will contact you immediately. This is your season. Your talent is required. Your skills will be upgraded when you connect with SIBN Television and Radio Networks today. Visit www.sibntelevision.com. Click on the internship program. Complete your application, and someone from the staff will contact you immediately. For more information, dial 404-910-5019 or email us at globalcoverage@selectusatv.com. You're listening to the Keenan Lake Show on SIBN Radio. Thank you so very much for joining us. And today we've been talking about the shackles on our minds with Mr. Keenan Lake. Keenan Lake, let's just pause for a moment before you get to your final thought and talk to them a little bit about the book, where to order, and the products that are available at the website, mydaddytaughtmethat.com.
Oh, great, Coach. No problem at all. So, yeah, the book is the book that I wrote. It came out in June 2012, and it's titled My Daddy Taught Me That. The book focuses a little bit about my father, who passed away a few years ago, and all the great things that he'd done, not only for me and my life, but for the community of Asheville, North Carolina. It gives him his just due. But the main thing that the book focuses on is men being men, stepping up, taking responsibilities, taking care of our youth and our families and our wives and our ladies. So with that, I give a lot of statistical information, a lot of information from the standpoint of being a social worker, from what I've seen over the last 10 years being a social worker, and how I've seen the effect of not having men, positive men in the home, how it's affected the family. So the purpose of the book is to educate, inform, motivate, and enlighten men to once again get back to where we could start being better providers and better fathers for our children and our families. with that, the website talks about the book. It gives actually have if you go to the website mydaddytaughtmethat.com, there are a few book reviews you'll be able to check out and see what other folks thought about the book. But also, I developed a men's development program where I work with young men ages 12 through 19, trying to instill that to transition that adolescent stage to early manhood, but also instill those values, those mentorships, those examples of what men should do and how that should be displayed. So with the group, I have about 19 young men in my program, and we have men discussion groups. We have that twice a week, and then we also meet for extracurricular activities and stuff as well. I need help with that, folks. So if anybody's listening to the broadcast, listening to the show, please go to the website, because on the website there are a couple of shirts and bracelets and stuff like that that you can purchase. All the funding goes towards the program. This is a nonprofit organization, but again, I'm doing this by myself, so it'll be great to have some funding with that. So being able to get a shirt, there's short sleeve shirts, long sleeve shirts. They're actually polo style shirts. And you'll be able to go to the website, get a shirt, and then also be a representative of the My Daddy Taught Me That movement. I think that this shirt, once you see the shirt, you see and you'll understand what the purpose of it is. It'll be able to inspire all who see it. You know, when you get a chance to take the shirt, put it on, wear it, have it in the community. People all over, when I have my shirts on, they always ask me, and first they say they love the shirt, they love the meaning. But then they always ask me where I got it from, and then they always want to know about it. So I think if you get that, you'll be a part of the My Daddy Taught Me That movement and be able to inspire and spread the word as well. Finally, Coach, you mentioned about a new book that I'm in the process of writing, and I'm going to leave that alone for a while, Coach. I'm going to wait until I get a little bit more done.
Yeah, I didn't mean to put you on the spot, but I want everybody to know that you're not just stuck on that first book. They need to go ahead on and process that first book, My Daddy Taught Me That, because there's a sequel coming, and this is a process. You know, we evolve through step-by-step principle application to our lives. So I wanted everybody, at least when you're ready to announce it, but everybody to know that there's a sequel in place. So if you haven't gotten the book, Keenan, let me just plug that. If they have not gotten the book, I want you to go to www.mydaddytaughtmethat.com, and I want you to order the book. I want you to make a sacrifice, because the principles and the truth and the facts and the statistics that you're going to find in this book is going to aid you, particularly those of you that are single parents and you have no idea where to go next, and you're trying to raise young children, whether they be boys or girls. This book is guaranteed to help give you a perspective and a way forward. And I also want to mention that it is an easy read. A lot of books that I have read over the years require a master's degree. But this book is an easy on your eyes, very engaging book. A lot of illustrations that will help you move forward through the book relatively easy. I won't say necessarily that the information will be easy to digest, but that's another matter. And also, I want to encourage those of you that may be listening to us, listen, I want you to take a different action towards this show today. Many times we do the same thing and we want a different result. I want you to consider going to www.mydaddytaughtmethat and click the donation button and do a $5 or $2, $3. You don't want to do $1 because we don't get the full dollar, but you want to do something to show, listen, I appreciate you guys sharing a show by which single parents and the like can tune in, upgrade their lives, and be better. Keenan, I got 1 minute. You got the last word.
All right, folks. Well, listen, I want to greatly thank my audience for tuning in to another episode of the Keenan Lake Show. Continue to follow us. Continue to watch us. Coach also has an array of shows on the SIBN network that you definitely need to tune into. The Coach's Corner is one that I would like to plug. A lot of great information from that. But continue to follow us on our journey. Continue to be with us as we continue to bring you shows that hopefully can inform and enlighten you as the audience as well. Follow me on my Twitter, The KL Show. Also, I have 3 Facebooks. The main one to follow me on from this particular show is the Keenan Lake Show on SIBN Radio. That's one of my Facebooks. I have another, My Daddy Taught Me That. And then finally, Keenan Lake, all 3 on Facebook. And then actually, I'm also on Instagram, Keenan Lake Radio. So please continue to follow me. Please continue to send information if you want to have a certain topic on, you want to address a certain topic, you want to know about information that I can personally help you with, to look up for you, or try to find information to you about, or any services out there that you need help with addressing. Please feel free to let me know about that as well. I am a social worker, so I have access to being able to get information if needed. Again, thank you, Coach. We had a great one, and I really appreciate you as well.
Yes, sir. Well, Keenan, stand by. Thank you, everyone. Whatever you do, follow on Twitter, The KL Show, and on Facebook. Hit him up, Keenan Lake, or my daddy, Keenan Lake Radio. Keenan Lake on SIBN Radio right there on Facebook.com. Hey, we got to go. Our time is up. Until next time, whatever you do, take care of yourself.
Thank you for joining us today for the Keenan Lake Show. We know you will be empowered as you consider the content shared by Mr. Keenan Lake, co-host Marcus Select, and our guests. For more information about Mr. Keenan Lake, please visit www.mydaddytaughtmethat, and feel free to email us at lake@mydaddytaughtmethat.com. Books can be ordered from Mr. Lake by calling 828-582-2261. Until next time, you've been listening to the Keenan Lake Show on SIBN Radio.